All right. Let's talk about blues today. Everybody says this is the blues scale, right? I'm gonna let me offer an alternate model here. The next time somebody tells you you can play blues with either a minor pentatonic scale or a major pentatonic scale, have them prove it to you. Tell them to sit down and show you major pentatonic blues. Because there's the loop very complex loop I made. So, major pentatonic. Does that sound like blues to you? It doesn't sound like anything. I mean, it sounds like the closest thing to it, it's kind of Allman Brothers, I guess. You know what I mean? I don't know how their stuff goes. It all sounds like that to me. So I'm not an Allman Brothers fan. I never really dove in. So cool. I'm sure there's tons of awesome stuff. I just don't know it. I do know Whip and Post. That's a killer song. And I know I can picture. I couldn't tell you what the names of stuff are. I'm not the biggest classic rock fan, believe it or not. I mostly listen to indie rock stuff. Been more into electronic stuff lately. What else? Yeah, and a lot of jazz and so forth. I mean, and a lot of other stuff, but I tend to not be really beholden to classic rock, So major pentatonic doesn't sound like blues. Let me offer an alternate explanation. Here, which I have prepared with my usual really high production values. My friend Rich and I, we're going to write a book on voicings. It will probably be relatively Ted Green-esque, I'm guessing. Not the Ted Green book. I never saw Chord Chemistry, the other book that he had. I did have that, like when I was in high school, and it's got, anyway. But it'll be relatively me-ish, I suppose. We say we're going to do this. I talk about doing a lot of stuff that I don't do, so it's kind of my thing. So, here. Now I know what you're thinking. Look, if this is the main note, that's just the Dorian mode, right? Yeah, sure. All right, but there's one certain thing I want to add to this, and that is the conjunction, literally the grammatical conjunction. This is the closest we've ever been. My once youthful complexion is no longer. Years of just stress. All right, anyway. Literally, let's add the word or between these two notes. And we're going to add the word or betwixt these two notes. And so forth, right? These two notes, at any given time, you pick one or the other. And at any given time, you pick one or the other. So, in a rare change of pace here, I'm going to call this 1. So 1 flat 3 4 5 6 flat 7 1, right? So at any given time, you're picking between 6 and flat 7, or you're picking between 2 and flat 3. 6 and flat 7, 2 and flat 3 at any given time. Here's what I mean by that. Let me demonstrate. Okay, so let's say I got minor pentatonic, right? So I'm gonna, in the oars, I'm just gonna pick the higher two of each one, right? We all know this works. Right? Right? Now, that sounds great. That sounds like blues, right? 9 songs into a blues set, I would say the people who are really good at blues might be thinking, okay, this person knows one flavor of blues, right? And the other flavors are from using this type of approach. Check it. Let's suppose instead of flat 7s, I start picking 6s instead of, right? So right? Now that's a little different flavor, right? Let's say I go back to flat sevens and I start picking twos instead of flat threes. Now there's a weird thing about this. You do kind of start bending away from the twos, and you can bend up to the flat three or to the regular three. You're just sort of bending away from it. You're not trying to get to any place in particular, but you're treating the two like something to be launched off of, which I know sounds awfully a lot like, oh, but now you're just playing the flat three still. It sounds different. So I'm picking flat sevens for this example. If I get all the way to the three, it sounds kind of lame, right? So it sounds very different than going, right? Even though I'm bending to the flat three or getting there most of the time, it sounds very different than just playing the flat three. Now, what happens if I do six? So any combination works. Look, I'm going to do sixes and twos instead. I went straight to the flat three. Now I can change at any given time. I can just change immediately, right? Like what I don't want to do is play them both in succession or even remotely in succession. I don't want to go, that sounds like Paul Gilbert or something, right? Which is also awesome. But a very different sound, right? So I'm going to do sixes and twos. Right, now I'm going to do flat threes. Let's do sixes and flat twos. Now let's do whatever I have not done. Flat sevens and twos, right? Now I went straight to the flat threes. Now what I'm really going to do is I'm going to constantly bounce around between these combinations, right? At any given time, I'm going to play a flat six, a flat seven or a six, or a flat three or a two, and I can go to all four different combinations of those, right? Yeah, and by the way, as you might have already started noticing, the two and the six, the ones that are the closest to playing major pentatonic, that's the happiest sounding combination. The darkest sounding combination is just straight up minor pentatonic, right? Flat three and flat seven. So here I go. I mean, this loop sucks. So I'm just gonna go back and forth and notice how the and in either of the hybrid versions, right, 2 and flat 7 or flat 3 and 6, those sound kind of in between. They're happy-ish, right? So I'm gonna constantly bounce between all the 4 combinations. They're on my chops. They suck. So does that make sense? your different blues scale flavor, your different blues flavors are this with the conjunction or written in, and there you go. When somebody says that you can play major pentatonic over a blues, it's bullcrap. It's bullcrap, which is why you've never heard anybody do it and it sound like blues. But this is really what they're trying to capture, is this type of thing. Is well, frankly, it's the 6 and the 2, right? But you can't just play the 2. But notice the regular old 3, like in a major pentatonic, that's missing because that does not sound like blues, right? So there you go. That's the blues scale. Short video. I have the requests for writing videos about writing. I've gotten enough of them. I guess I'll do that very soon. They'll probably be pretty idiosyncratic, you know. I mean, I'll talk about the way I write, and you know, it may not apply to you. You know, you can listen to Fantastic Boom and see if maybe it's something you would be interested in. That's what I've been trying to get you to do as it is.